All right, so today I've got a fragrance from Ahmed Al Maghribi, and this is Ahmed Al Maghribi's Amiri. All right, so I've got a sample of this that I got from BanadeirFragrance.com. I do have 7 other samples of Ahmed Al Maghribi fragrances that were also sent to me, from Banadair Fragrance. And I'll be going over those fragrances in a different video, and I'll also be including this in that video as well. But I wanted to specifically get this one out there because this was like my favorite one out of all of the ones that I smelled. And I believe that this one is the most sort of mass appealing one, out of all of the ones that I had. So if you're not familiar with Amiri and the notes of that fragrance, the notes are going to be in the top notes. You have bergamot, pink pepper, and tangerine. And in the mid you have cedar, nutmeg, and patchouli, and then in the base you have amber, musk, sandalwood, and vanilla. And what that translates out to in terms of what this smells like is it smells like a slightly more sort of mature version, in my opinion, of the Bulgari Tiger scent profile. So it's going to give you a bright sort of citrusy opening, but not as, in my opinion, not as bright and citrusy as what you would get with something like Tiger. So what I'm going to be doing a lot of in this video is sort of comparing it to inspiration of Tiger from French Avenue Fragrance World, VICL. And just to kind of compare the two, in the opening, I mean, they do smell very similar. However, in my opinion, the VICL is definitely, it's going to be the brighter fragrance. So the way that the grapefruit and the ginger and that sort of ambroxan comes off in something like VICL. Again, this is going to be a lot brighter, but this is also going to be a lighter scent as well. Whereas Amiri is going to be slightly darker, way more dense than something like VICL. And it just has, in my opinion, more going on in the fragrance. To me, something like this, the VICL, the Tiger scent profile, it's a very simple scent profile. There's not really a lot going on. It's very linear. This fragrance, though, it has a lot more transitions, in my opinion. The Amiri does anyway. Than something like the Tiger scent profile does. And so I think that's part of why I say this is more kind of like a more mature version of Tiger. Now, that doesn't mean that this is like, an old person's fragrance or anything like that. That's definitely not the case. I think the same people that really enjoy Tiger will also really enjoy this fragrance. This one it kind of takes you down a different sort of journey than what something like Tiger does. There's more kind of winds and twists in the road with something like Amiri than what it would be with Tiger, whereas Tiger is just pretty much just a straight line road, pretty much until you get to the end, where at the end of this scent profile, the VICL Tiger, it's for the most part kind of like this, in my opinion, undiscernible sort of ambroxan / woody sort of smell that, in my opinion, a lot of people kind of go nose blind to. So in some cases you might think that it's completely gone, but for the most part, really it's still there. You're just getting ambroxan smell that your nose just really isn't sort of paying attention to that much at that point. Whereas with the Amiri, even once you get into the 8 and 10 hour mark or so with this fragrance, it is something that you're absolutely still going to pick up on and smell, because it just has, it has stronger, denser sort of base notes, and it just has stronger notes overall, in my opinion, than what something like, Tiger does. So again, in the opening, when you spray Amiri on, if you're comparing it to something like Tiger, Amiri is going to be slightly darker. Like I said, it's not going to be as sweet, and it doesn't have like the same sort of dryness that something like Tiger does. So Tiger is like a really sort of bright, zingy, but like dry fragrance at the same time. Whereas in my opinion, this fragrance, the way it comes across, it doesn't come across as being like super dry to me. I don't want to say it doesn't come off as watery or anything like that, but just at the same time, this doesn't come off as like a super dry scent. All right. Now, once you start getting into like, the mid and the far dry down, that's really where you start to notice that this fragrance is like something completely different from Tiger. Or, in this case, we're comparing it to YCL. So when you get to like the dry down of something like Tiger or YCL in this case, the fragrance for that scent profile, it turns into just like woods and Broxton, and that's really all you get. And it's very sort of light, airy, whereas this, you get that amber, you get the vanilla, you get the sandalwood, and you get the patchouli as well. And it just makes for, in my opinion, a slightly sort of sweet scent, but at the same time, sweet and kind of woody at the same time, in my opinion. And it doesn't have the same sort of like airy wispiness that something like Tiger or YCL would have. Where it's mainly kind of like Broxton, musk, woods. That's not really the feel that you get from this. Once it's been on your skin for again, let's say 8+ hours or so. The other thing is the performance on this is going to be a lot better than something like Tiger. So for me, when it comes to YCL, I can kind of detect this one for like around 7 to 8-ish, hours or so. And then, after that, it does still stick on my skin for longer than that, but it's definitely something where I kind of have to lift up my shirt and sort of smell it. Or if I'm sweating a lot, maybe it'll start to activate. But with this, you don't have to be sweating to smell this 8 to 10+ hours later. You are going to smell this, at least for me, until you wash it off. So it is definitely that strong, which all of the Ahmed Al Maghribi fragrances that I've tried so far, that's definitely been one of the things with those fragrances they are like really strong, and they have very good performance in terms of longevity and projection. So that is going to be a huge difference between this and something like Tiger. This is going to give you way better projection. So, I mean, I'm talking about at least probably about 4.5 feet or so of projection for like the first 2.5-3 hours or so is what I'm getting with this fragrance. And then, even after that point, it's still going to be stronger than most fragrances would be, after 2 or 3 hours or so. And then again, in terms of the longevity, this one's going to last on you until you wash it off for the most part. If you spray it on clothes, it's going to be on your clothes until you wash the clothes. So it is a very, very strong performing fragrance. I would say that you wouldn't necessarily want to spray this fragrance on as many times as you might spray something like Tiger or YCL on. You definitely would kind of want to ratchet down those sprays a little bit more with this one, because again, this is a much more denser sort of smell than what something like YCL would be. All right, so that is pretty much my take on Amiri. Now, from what I understand, is this is a an inspiration of another fragrance. What that fragrance is, I was able to find it like before I actually bought this fragrance, but I have not been able to find the web page or the website where I found that original fragrance at, after purchasing this. So I can't say exactly what this is inspired by, but I know it is inspired by another fragrance. So if you know what that fragrance is, then definitely, let me know in the comments for sure. But it's not Tiger or anything like that. This is a fragrance that I've never heard of. But this is very, very high quality. I do absolutely recommend this. And I would say, if you're someone who's maybe looking for something that's slightly different from Tiger, and you don't want to shell out a lot of money for it, because there are other fragrances that smell like Tiger that are from other sort of niche brands, but they do have a higher price tag than something like this does, then I would say check this one out, man. You may actually like this one a lot. I do. I think I'll probably get a full bottle of this fragrance eventually. Because again, it definitely was, my favorite one out of all of the, I would say out of all the Ahmed Al Maghribi fragrances that I've smelled in general so far, Amiri is definitely my favorite one for sure. I would say I do prefer this over something like Cough, and I do prefer it over Oud Lavender. So definitely, I recommend this one, man. Check this one out. Again, this is Ahmed Al Maghribi's Amiri. And if I'm going to give this one an overall rating on a scale from 1 to 10, this would easily be, in my opinion, like a 8.5 out of 10. All right. So this is good stuff. I do recommend that you check this one out. All right. So that's my take on Ahmed Al Maghribi's Amiri. Let me know in the comments what you all think about this fragrance if you smelled it. Also, again, if you know what this is actually inspired by, let me know in the comments as well. And again, if you're brand new to the channel, do me a favor, go ahead and subscribe. And again, that's Jamar from Vegas Scents. I'll see y'all in the next video.